often feel like my kids are like super sensitive or have like loads of emotions. And it feels overwhelming and frustrating because it feels like they're throwing their emotions at me. And then I'm having all these feelings and not knowing how to, anyway, it feels like that. And then I had this realization. I stopped and I was like, are my kids actually super sensitive? Are they actually something that has this like loud and need and emotions that are just explosive like it feels to me? Or is it simply they're being a person that's a child, being a child? And it just feels like so much because I wasn't allowed to feel. I wasn't allowed to take up space. Maybe they're not overreacting, they're not being sensitive, they're being a human in this world, learning how to be a human. And the reason it feels like an overreaction, it feels like oversensitivity, is because I wasn't allowed. I was told to be quiet, I was told to smile, I was told to stop crying. That understanding, that realization, it can help me when it feels like so much, because it is too much and it is a lot. And it's not to say that it isn't those things for you or for me, experiencing it as the child who was told it's not allowed. Now being the adult, having to be the parent to the kid, I'm trying to allow it and learning at the same time. That is a lot. That is loud. That is so much. But it isn't because my kid is feeling so many things. It's because I wasn't allowed and it feels so foreign. And then there's all these triggers because we weren't allowed to have the feelings. We were allowed to take up the space. And then we have these kids who are taking up the space and we're having to parent them and help them while we're also feeling extremely triggered by the fact that we weren't allowed to have those feelings. So we're having to deal with our childhood self and our adult self and them. And for anybody who says heal before you have kids, you didn't have kids yet. No matter how much you healed, kids are going to trigger it. Just know it, okay? No matter how, just sit back. It'll happen. But that realization that my kids aren't overly sensitive, my kids aren't having these huge feelings that are like unproportional and so weird. They're fitting for their age. They're fitting for their neurological development. They're fitting for what they're experiencing for the first time in their life. It's just so much and so big comparatively to what we were allowed. Not that truth, that like nugget, that like it hits hard both for our experience, but it also hits hard in allowing us to feel less like it's a problem. Because sometimes people can make us feel like it's a problem when our kids are having really big feelings. And sure, how you handle feelings can be a big problem, but having them isn't. And then that goes to like us figuring out how to have our own feelings, and that's a whole different process. But I figured I wanted to share that just in case, because it was really helpful for me.